30 years after Tupac Shakur was shot in Las Vegas, the case that haunted hip-hop for decades finally appeared to be heading toward a courtroom. On September 29, 2023, a Clark County grand jury indicted Duane Keffe D for Tupac's murder. Davis was arrested that morning near Las Vegas, ending 27 years without anyone being formally charged in the killing. For Tupac's younger sister, Sekyiwa Shakur, the arrest was significant, but she refused to celebrate too early. Sekyiwa, president of the Tupac Shakur Foundation, called the arrest a pivotal moment. She emphasized that Tupac was more than a famous rapper or a figure in hip-hop history. He was her brother, her mother's son, and a human being whose life had been violently taken at only 25. But one part of her statement stood out. She said the arrest was a victory, but she would reserve judgment until the facts and legal proceedings were complete. Tupac's stepbrother, Mopreme Shakur, expressed the same caution. The family had waited nearly 3 decades. They wanted justice, but they understood that an arrest was not the same thing as a conviction, and their patience would be tested again. Davis pleaded not guilty in November 2023. His trial was initially scheduled for June 2024, but that date was moved. In January 2025, his defense asked the court to dismiss the case. Attorneys argued that Davis had received protection through earlier agreements with law enforcement.
Tomorrow, the long-awaited trial over the 1996 killing of rap icon Tupac Shakur starts in Las Vegas.
And that waiting 27 years to charge him had damaged his ability to defend himself. Judge Carly Kearney rejected the request. One reason was especially important. Davis himself had helped bring new attention to the case through his own public statements and memoir. More delays followed. The defense later claimed investigators had found witnesses who could support an extraordinary alibi, that Davis was not even in Las Vegas when Tupac was shot. The trial was eventually moved to February 2026. Then Davis changed legal teams, and his new attorney argued that the amount of evidence was too large to properly review before trial. Once again, the date moved.
This time to August 10, 2026. For Tupac's family, it meant even more waiting. Sekyiwa remained relatively quiet publicly about the murder case during those delays, but shortly before the scheduled August trial, something changed.
Attorneys are fighting over whether the jury will hear confessions from the accused master.
Her name appeared on the prosecution's witness list, and she was not alone. The list reportedly included Suge Knight,
Duane Keffe D. Davis,
who was driving the BMW when Tupac was shot,
Death Row Records founder Suge Knight,
as well as Mopreme Shakur and Tupac's cousin, Katari Cox. Sekyiwa was no longer simply watching the case from outside.
Is on the witness list.
She was potentially part of it. Around the same time, another Shakur family member spoke publicly about what the approaching trial meant after nearly 30 years.
Davis claims he was tricked into talking, but prosecutors argue he proudly repeated his story for profit.
The message was not excitement, it was exhaustion.
Those close to the case say reliving the tragedy hasn't been easy.
For the public, Tupac's murder has become one of hip-hop's greatest mysteries. It has generated documentaries, books, podcasts, conspiracy theories, and countless online debates. For his family, however, it remains the night somebody they loved was murdered. Listening to testimony about Tupac's final hours could force them to relive that trauma all over again. That difference matters. The public received decades of drama. The Shakur family lived with decades of grief. But as the trial approached, the biggest problem facing Duane Davis was not necessarily what Tupac's family might say. It was what Davis himself had already said. For years, Davis publicly discussed the shooting. In 2018, during BET's Death Row Chronicles, he described being inside the Cadillac connected to the attack and said the fatal shots came from the back seat. Then in 2019, Davis released a memoir, Compton Street Legend, co-written with Yusuf Jah. The book went much further. It described the night of September 7, 1996, when Mike Tyson fought Bruce Seldon at the MGM Grand. According to the account, After the infamous confrontation involving Tupac and Orlando Anderson, Davis obtained a gun and entered a Cadillac with 3 other men. They searched for Tupac and Suge Knight before eventually encountering their BMW. The weapon was allegedly passed toward the back seat. Then came the shooting. For prosecutors, these statements were enormously important, but Davis's defense argued that the book should not be treated like a confession. Attorney Michael Saft suggested that because a ghostwriter was involved, parts of the story may have been exaggerated or even invented. That created a fascinating question. Was Compton Street legend a genuine account of what happened, or was it a dramatic story designed to sell books? Prosecutors argued Davis could not publicly profit from telling the story and then simply distance himself from it once those words became dangerous in court. On June 30, 2026, Judge Kearney ruled that prosecutors could use the memoir as evidence. That was a major blow to the defense. But there was another problem. Back in 2008, Davis had spoken with investigators during an interview involving former LAPD detective Greg Kading. During that conversation, Davis again placed himself inside the Cadillac. The defense fought to keep that recording away from the jury, arguing that Davis had cooperated under pressure while facing possible drug charges and believed his statements were protected. But on July 28, 2026, Judge Kearney ruled that the recording could also be used at trial. Now, prosecutors potentially had 2 different accounts from Davis himself.
The 2008 interview and the 2019 memoir. Then, just days before jury selection, Davis gave another interview and introduced a completely different version of events. He claimed he had not been in Las Vegas at all. According to Davis, he had actually been roughly 300 miles away in Los Angeles when Tupac was shot. That would be a powerful alibi. There was just one problem. The reporter interviewing him had a copy of Duane Davis's own book. Inside was a photograph connected to the Mike Tyson-Bruce Seldon fight at the MGM Grand on September 7, 1996, the same night Tupac was shot. Tupac attended that fight. Hours later, he and Suge Knight were stopped near East Flamingo Road and Cova Lane when a Cadillac pulled alongside their BMW. Gunfire erupted. Tupac was struck multiple times and died 6 days later. Nearly 30 years later, Davis was now saying he had been in Los Angeles. But his previous statements, and even material appearing inside his own book, seemed to tell a very different story.
We just wrapped up an interview with Duane Keffe D. Davis just a couple of days ahead of his murder trial for Tupac Shakur.
And that may become the biggest problem for his defense, because prosecutors do not simply have to convince jurors to believe another witness over Duane Davis.
Basically, he kept saying that he is innocent. I brought up this book that clearly has his name in it.
They may ask jurors to compare Duane Davis against Duane Davis. What he said in 2008.
It was brought up in court and could be used as evidence in the trial.
What he published in 2019, and what he claimed in 2026. If those stories cannot fit together,
there was detailed sentences about the night that Tupac Shakur was murdered.
The most damaging witness against Keffe D might ultimately be Keffe D himself.
That night was also the Mike Tyson fight, and then I brought up this picture.
Davis had an answer for the photograph. He told the camera crew that it was not taken in Las Vegas on September 7, 1996. According to him, the picture came from January 1st, 1998 at the Sheraton.
Davis was kind of upset that I kept bringing it up. He threatened to walk away from the interview.
He even pointed to his clothing, asking why he would be wearing a suit, an overcoat, and a hat in Las Vegas during September. Then he attacked the book itself.
You see, he clearly says that me and my sister at the fight. I showed this to him.
Davis claimed he never actually wrote Compton Street Legend. A ghostwriter did.
But he kept saying that he's innocent and he will testify if he feels like he has to.
He said he never even read the finished book and only promoted it because he was trying to make money for his family.
If I asked one more question about it, kept saying that he was not in Vegas that night.
That defense is now crucial because the courtroom is where all these conflicting versions finally collide.
He says that was a picture taken on New Year's Eve. It's September. Why would he be wearing a long coat?
On August 10th, 2026, attention turned to the Regional Justice Center in downtown Las Vegas. Interest in the case was so intense that the court prepared for far more spectators than the main courtroom could accommodate. Members of the public hoping to attend were required to enter a daily seating lottery. Winning a seat one day did not guarantee a seat the next. Everyone else would have to follow the proceedings through an overflow area and live video feed. Judge Carly Kearney presides over the case. Duane Davis, now 63, faces one count of murder with a deadly weapon with the intent to promote, further, or assist a criminal gang. If convicted, he could spend the rest of his life in prison. But there is an important detail about the prosecution's theory. The state does not need to prove that Davis personally fired the bullets that killed Tupac. Prosecutors instead intend to argue that Davis helped organize the retaliation and supplied the weapon used in the attack. The other three men allegedly inside the Cadillac that night are dead. Orlando Baby Lane, Davis's nephew and the man long suspected by many of being the shooter, was killed in an unrelated Compton shooting in 1998. He was never charged with Tupac's murder. DeAndre Freaky Smith and Terry Bubble-Up are also dead. That leaves Davis as the last surviving alleged occupant of the Cadillac. And, strangely enough, he may also be the prosecution's most important witness against himself.
For a witness in an active murder trial, speaking publicly about evidence can create serious problems. Statements can be challenged by the defense, compared against courtroom testimony, or used to question credibility. Davis himself even referenced restrictions surrounding discussion of the case during one of his interviews. So Sekyiwa's silence should not necessarily be interpreted as absence. In fact, it is completely consistent with what she said from the beginning. Go back to September 29, 2023. Hours after Davis was arrested, Sekyiwa called the development a victory, but immediately added that she would reserve judgment until all the facts and legal proceedings were complete. 3 years later, she appears to be doing exactly that. While cameras wait outside the courthouse and hip-hop media searches for reactions, Sekyiwa has largely allowed the case to speak for itself. And if prosecutors eventually call her to testify, her most important reaction will not happen on Instagram. It will happen under oath. She could find herself sitting in a witness box only feet away from the only person ever charged with her brother's murder. No social media post could recreate that moment. After nearly 30 years, prosecutors enter this case with Davis's memoir, his recorded 2008 statements, and dozens of potential witnesses. The defense has an expert on false confessions and a client who now argues that a ghostwriter helped create the story prosecutors want the jury to believe. Suge Knight remains on the witness list, even though he has indicated he may not cooperate. And among all those names is Sekyiwa Shakur, a woman who said in 2023 that she would wait until the legal process was complete before passing judgment. For decades, the Shakur family waited for somebody to answer for Tupac's death. Now, the case has finally reached the point where competing stories must be tested in court. Was Duane Davis telling the truth when he described being inside that Cadillac? Was he exaggerating to sell books and build his reputation? Or is the new claim that he was never in Las Vegas the story the jury should question? Those are the questions at the heart of the case. And after almost 30 decades of rumors, documentaries, and street theories, the answers will not be decided on YouTube, Instagram, or in another interview. They will be decided in a courtroom. And until that process is finished, Sekyiwa Shakur appears determined to do exactly what she promised from the beginning: reserve judgment. Thanks for watching. Check out the other videos on the screen and subscribe for more stories from the biggest cases in hip-hop.